What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with macro data points, we have manufacturing data coming out Monday after hours, so that'll impact most likely Tuesday. Current forecast is 49.5, previous was 50.4. 50 is a key pivot. Anything above 50 shows more of an expansion. Anything below 50 shows more of a kind of a contraction. So at the end of the day, this one will be a big data point pretty much for this whole week. And aside from that though, you have tariffs. And just kind of going back and forth between the States and China. This weekend, a lot of people were very optimistic that there was going to be some sort of de-escalation. Unfortunately, opposite seems to have occurred and things seem to be heating up between the two countries. So I think that it was really going to impact a lot of Chinese stocks and through that NIO. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Aside from all of that though, you do also have NIO putting out their monthly number. So this will impact Monday. So they did put out 23,231 vehicles delivered in May. And that is an increase of 13.1%. And then year to date, 89,225, and that works out to be 34.7% year-over-year growth. And just a further breakdown, so 13,270 were from NIO, 6,280 from Onvo, and then 3,680 from Firefly. So when it comes down to this data, I do feel like it will actually cause the stock price to go down slightly, only because for them to hit their year-end goals, like they need to really pull a rabbit out of the hat. And I know I get hate every single time. Even the last monthly numbers that they did put out, I kind of said the exact same thing, that the market was not really going to perceive this as a positive. Turns out I was kind of correct, but nonetheless, I get hate every single time saying that they're going to be doing good in blah, 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 Q4 and so forth, which they could. I really hope they do hit their goals, but this is one of the biggest issues with NIO is that they have very high expectations and they disclose those expectations and targets to the Wall Street, and then they kind of miss. And so that's, again, not necessarily good for the stock price. So at the end of the day, yes, this is good kind of year-over-year growth, but towards their targets, not so much. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. But NIO is going to be putting out their earnings Tuesday before the market does open. Current forecasts are currently this right here. So negative 37 cents for the earnings per share, 1.73 billion for revenue. Over the last 90 days, you have 1 positive and 3 negative revisions to the earnings per share. Current implied move is 8.4%. So roughly like a 30 to 40 cent move in either direction is anticipated. And this is single-handedly the lowest stock price that they have had going into an earnings since basically 2022. So kind of crazy stuff. Historically speaking, they do actually the market perceives their earnings as a positive around 60% of the time. You can kind of see from this column right here. So that's kind of a good thing. A lot of that does come from their future guidance because a lot of their key metrics they do generally flop on. And what I mean by that is popping over here, you can kind of see this is all of their results, all from 2021 to the present. They have only had a positive earnings per share surprise, and that was Q2 2021 when they did beat by 43.48%. So their future guidance is absolutely key because you can kind of see that NIO does generally flop. And then when it comes down to their revenue, you can kind of see it's a little bit more hit and miss. They were a little bit stronger in 2021 and 2022. As of late, it's been relatively flat for their revenue. So analysts have been somewhat accurate on their projections for that. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But like I said, it is clearly the market deems their future guidance as one of the make it or break it points for NIO. So it is all going to come down to margins, and as well what was just stated over the last little bit was profitability in Q4. So I think that's still one of those types of issues that very ambitious, because if they don't hit profitability, then they might kind of get punished by Wall Street, unfortunately. And this is one thing that also NIO will have to kind of talk on, is clearly other Chinese EVs have recently had their earnings and have indicated some struggle, more competition. And even since then, BYD did slash prices. So China is a cutthroat type of market. So NIO, they need to be cautious with the words that they use about profitability. Side note though, going back over here, analysts do not believe that Q4 they will be profitable. You can kind of see based on this, the consensus is negative 14 cents. Still good growth year over year, 70.49%, but analysts do not believe that they will be profitable, even pretty much up until like 2026. So let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Aside from that, going into this upcoming week, 13.34% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 205.85 million shares overall are being shorted. Shorts even on Friday did take advantage of obviously the market punishing and NIO and just Chinese stocks, because they did return 1.55 million shares. Cost to borrow average is 8.09%. So over the last little bit, shorts have been really doubling down, meaning that they feel that NIO was kind of due for a pullback. So it'll be interesting to see what they do on Monday as they digest the May numbers and as well leading into their earnings. But aside from that though, with NIO closing at 354, that does mean that the 350 strike prices and below are considered in the money. So you have 3,000 at that 350. That's not going to cause any bump up in the stock price. That's actually relatively small. As far as looking forward into this upcoming week, 3,000 at that 350, and then you have 15,000 at 4, 13,000 at 450, and then 8,000 at that 5. So if NIO does get close to those strike prices, you might see shorts wake up a little bit more based on all that. A couple key elements to watch for though with that 354, it is trading right now between this pivot and this S1. So 329 is going to be the next strong support, and then 384 is going to be the next strong target slash resistance. And as I even mentioned in previous videos, if this 384 was to have been broken, which it did, you're going to see 350 by the end of Friday, and that's exactly how it did play out. This is why just follow the data, and honestly, you just have to, if you believe in NIO, take advantage of these discounted prices, because NIO is a very frustrating stock. But once they do hit profitability, whenever that might be, then the stock price will more align with what happens operationally. But aside from that though, going into this upcoming week, it did break below on Friday that super trend indicator, meaning that you'll have algorithmic trading really working against NIO. So that is a unfortunate type of thing. It is also below all the key pivotal moving averages. So you do have 388 being that 50-day moving average, 415 for that 100, and then the 200 at 456. So because of their earnings, if it is able to get above that 50, then most likely it'll settle between that 50 and 100-day moving averages. So all in all, going into this week, I feel like there is a little bit more upside anticipated just based on everything that has happened, because over the last like 5 days it is down 3.54%. So absolutely getting hit quite hard, and then even over the last 1 month down 12.38%. So I think that NIO is getting to be a pretty good value. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but it is all going to come down to the data and what they give for future guidance for their earnings. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Where do you see things going for this week? Are you optimistic? Are you bearish? What's your general thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Hopefully everyone's having a good weekend. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.